I can go through 100, 200 people and they say no to me, but each time they're pushing you towards the right person.
I think that's a huge reframe.
Sometimes people invest not because they like your idea, but because they like you.
We don't have to go down that very traditional, you send the pitch deck first, that you can, but there are other ways to go about it. Welcome to episode 6 of Founders Plus AI. Real talk for founders building big with AI. I'm Akhidenor and I'm here with my co-host Boon Chew. Today we're diving in to my favourite topic, fundraising. How to pitch your AI startup idea and secure the funding you need to make it real. No jargon, just clear steps to help you pitch with confidence, even if you haven't launched yet. So Boon, let's dive straight in. The first question I have for you is, when is the right time to pitch investors?
Yeah, the right time is pretty much any time. Question is more on who to pitch to when. It's not so much about when to pitch. If you are starting a project, you want to obviously pitch to someone not with the intention to really fundraise. You really want to pitch to them because they've seen projects, and then you kind of want to hear what kind of questions they ask you. So you want to make sure you have answers to some of them, and if you don't, then you have to ask yourself, why don't you have answers to some of them? So I would say that the pitching to investors should be something that is ongoing. Probably from day one, once you have a good idea and you want to commit to it, then you should start pitching to people. Sometimes it's better to even pitch to someone not even knowing they're going to be investing in you, and then they turn into an investor. Or sometimes people invest not because they like your idea, but because they like you. So that I have a lot of people putting money into what we do, not because they know whether the idea is going to be successful or not. They invest in the idea because they trust me. Mm-hmm. And they know that the idea can change, right? The idea can change, but the person who is executing it. That's why I mentioned to you before that it's very important for the founder to focus on themselves. Because if I know that you're resilient, if I know that you do the right thing to keep yourself in a good optimal state, then I would rather invest in you with a bad idea than someone who doesn't do any of the above with a good idea. Because and the chance of them going wrong is much higher. So I would say, again, when is the right time? I would say anytime, because a lot of times we also tend to do things only when we're ready. But I think, especially with AI now, people should really start doing things before they're ready, because that's how you get ready, right? You do it and then you're ready. I wasn't ready to do the podcast. I've never done it before. I'm not comfortable in front of camera. I don't like to be out in the public. But if you know that the intention is there to deliver value and not about yourself, and you just do it, you don't have to wait until you're ready. Just go do it. And then if you're not good at it, just tweak and change and become better. Yeah.
How do we get better at diving in head first when we feel scared, we don't know, we're nervous about the feedback we're going to get?
Yeah.
How do we get better at that?
The first time you do it and you start realizing there's value in that. There's value in doing something before you're ready. You start telling yourself, you start convincing yourself there's a lot of value in that. In fact, now when I get into any uncomfortable situation, I always tell myself that means there's growth. I know when I'm sitting, doing something very comfortable, there's not true growth there. I'm already doing what I'm good at. So when I relate or reframe my mind, you start seeing the benefits. You're gonna start wiring your brain to want to do it more and more. And here's the thing, because most people don't do things until they're ready, you tend to be the one benefit before anyone else, right? That's why the AI thing is such an important thing for people to get into, whether it be using AI to build or to build something for AI. Technically speaking, who is ready? I mean, most of us didn't invent AI. It was done for many, many years by many, many different researchers. So technically, it was kind of never ready until we have all the sort of the convergence of data, algorithm, and compute, right? So now that we have all of that, we really should just dive in because the ingredients are there for you. You should just go and experiment and make mistakes and then tweak. So the not ready part will always be a part of that, a part of the journey. But until you do it, you'll never be truly ready.
Such valuable advice. I love how you spoke about earlier that you would rather invest in someone because you trust them and you see that they're investing in themselves, really. When investors look to invest in that very early pre-seed stage, is that what they're looking for? Are they looking to invest more in the founder or in the idea?
Yeah, good question. It depends on the investor as well. First of all, not all of them succeed. And then, investment is sometimes a numbers game. You know that the success rate is not that high. So again, kind of like AI, different people put different weights on things. Of course, the most obvious thing is if this is making money, it's giving me enough signal to know that it may not fail as quickly as something that doesn't make money yet. But I think the right investors always look at the person, because the person is the one executing it. We're not at a point where we have a humanoid, launching a startup yet. So the person who's executing it is more than just their knowledge. Of course, founder market fit is very important, meaning that they have the domain knowledge and expertise. But I've seen many, many founders failing, not because of the idea, not because of the product market fit, but because of them. If they stop putting energy into the idea, the product practically dies, because it was the idea that they came up with. So am I going to find someone that believes in the idea as passionate as they are? So they have to be the first person that carries the stick, and they have to be the person that really get it all the way to the finish line. So if they don't have, or if they show any sign of them not being able to do that, it'll be more difficult for investors to want to put money into them. Yeah.
Yes, I'm nodding along, and I think so many of our founders out there listening, it just reiterates to us like what is important at the end of the day, and it is actually going, okay, we are going to be what sells an investor for a pre-seed round, like realistically, not so much our idea. I think that gives me a level of comfort because, and I'm hoping our founders out there listening as well feel that, because it means that your idea doesn't have to be perfect. The first time you go out to pitch, it may not even be the idea you end up pursuing, as you mentioned to start off with, but as long as I guess you're focused on building yourself and you hone in on what value can you bring and working on yourself, at the end of the day, you may still get that investment. You probably will. So interesting. What separates founders that are successful in a fundraise versus those who aren't?
Couple of things. One is the mindset when they go into the fundraising is that they're not in there to just get cash. Because if you're in there just to take, the energy that comes across is different than if you're in there to try to give. Because what's the whole goal? If I get money from you, it's because I want to help you make more money. So if I don't feel like I can help you make more money, or not at the pace that you want, I should not be taking the money from you. So that alignment has to be there. Same as the alignment between the founder and the team that they set up. The alignment, if it is not there, the investor can be a pain to you later on. Or you can be a pain to them. Now, here's the thing. Do you want this investor to only invest in your current thing one time? Or do you want them to come back or to you, or you go back to them again and again for future endeavor projects? So the alignment, they have to be there. If not, it could cause all kinds of distractions for both sides. So that's number one, right? To really go in there with a value-giving mindset. Like, I'm here to give you value, and you can say no. I will come back to you again when I have more reasons to come back to you. But that mindset of not just going there and say, give me money. Because the moment you don't give me, you can see the energy tapers, right? They slouch. No, you're in there for the wrong thing. You should be in there to gauge if you can help give them what they want. The other thing, aside from, the giving mindset, is that you have to be able to take rejections and reframe it towards rejection. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I talked to 200 founder investors, and well, why is that even a thing to talk about?" You should know that that's part of the journey. You're not going to find the right investor right away. You try your best, but you should treat it like this is a normal thing, that I can go through 100, 200 people and they say no to me, but each time they're pushing you towards the right person, right? But you also have the thick skin and the ability to take rejection and all of that. So to me, that's another thing that sets the great one from the bad one, is that they don't spend a lot of energy lamenting on why they didn't get it. No, if they're not the right person, move on. Or you're not the right product for them, move on, right? Don't spend too much energy dealing with the psychological aspect of yourself. Spend more energy on honing things so that you can be more successful in the next one, whether it be finding the right right investor, or getting a better pitch done. Yeah.
So valuable. I love what you said about the giving mindset. I feel like so many founders do not think of it in that way. And I don't think it's because we don't want to give. I think we think about giving value to our users and the people we're building for, but not so much to the investors that we get on board. So I love that you mentioned that. And I think that's a huge reframe, even just for myself. I think you go in thinking, this is a financial partner that will help me deliver value to these end users. But when you flip it on its head, as you mentioned, and go, actually, how could I add value to this investor through what I'm doing here, as well as the users? And then they can help me add value to the users. I think that is huge. And as you mentioned, psychologically, it changes how the investor feels about you, the energy in the room. So major pow moment in my mind just then. And I'm sure so many of our founders out there listening are feeling like, wow, that is a reframe. I guess one of the biggest questions that I hear all the time is, how do you get these meetings with these investors, and where do you go to find investors to pitch to? What would be your response on that?
Networking events is one of them. Obviously, it's going to be super important. Again, and we talk about marketing, right, to get attention on your product. You have to market yourself too. Actually, a lot of people would love to talk to you, but just don't know you're even there. So putting yourself out there is very important. Podcasts like this, right? That's one way to get to a lot of people out there. So there are many different channels, different ways to get yourself out there. Now, of course, if you go into a local event, the fact that they are in the same city sometimes gives them comfort as well, because they want to deal with someone that they can reach out to more easily. But go to events in different places, different cities, Silicon Valley, San Francisco, Boston, New York, mingle. And that's why we built Ego, because Ego is one thing where you're not really going there by just and meet people randomly. We look for synergy. We make sure you get to know who they are before you even meet them. So when you go meet them, you go there with clear intention. And then even after you meet them with Ego, you can have that. So that's a tool we literally built for not just a general user, but for founders as well. Super useful for founders and investors. And you have to always remember this. They are looking for founders to invest. It's not that they don't want to spend money. They want to spend, but you have to give them enough reasons to want to invest in you. So again, don't spend too much time on the wrong investor. I never feel rejected at all when I go to talk to an investor. Never once. Wow. I mean, before maybe. But once I reframe it, I know that when I go to talk to them, it's either not the right fit, or I'm still on my journey in perfecting my pitch or the idea, so that the idea itself is not strong enough for them to even want to, or it could be other reasons. But either way, I always look for good out of that. You always have to, right? The time that you spend talking to them is not about the outcome. If you're just focusing on the outcome, you're missing a lot of goodies you can get out of that. So whenever I go into a meeting with an investor, I'm very grateful that they spend time with me. And then right away, the energy is different when you're grateful about something. Then when you go in there, you try to extract all the nutrition you can get out of it. So then every meeting just sets you up for the next one. And then even sets you up for who not to talk to in the future as well. So yeah.
So valuable. I love taking the grateful energy. I also think that not taking offense or feeling like your idea is not good, or you're just, when investors reject you, I think that is major as well. Something I will throw in here, and you and I were talking offline about this, Boon, was how you and I actually connected. Many of the founders out there listening may or may not know, a lot of what we do at the Peers Project is obviously podcast production work aside from our Peers AI product. And it's all B2B sales. That is literally my entire life as a CEO of the business. And so we actually recently launched this thing called a coffee campaign, whereby we reach out cold to investors, operators, founders on LinkedIn and just say, hey, we're industry folk. We've got a couple of mutuals on LinkedIn. We should just catch up and go for coffee.
Yeah.
And that is literally how you and I met, Boone. And I think what's so beautiful is that there was literally no expectation in that meeting.
Yes.
You know, you literally just came and met me for coffee. I learned about what you do. You learned about what I do. And then it's so funny that, you know, a couple of weeks later or 2 months later, we're sitting here doing a podcast together.
Yeah.
And so I think that is something that, you know, I guess echoes what you were talking about around being grateful for the person to even come and meet you. Secondly, having not huge expectations, using it as a learning, if anything, and just getting curious in the conversation can actually lead to an outcome that you didn't even think possible.
Exactly. And that's the sort of interesting thing about life sometimes. You're being intentional, but not being too sort of like goal-driven. You know, like the intentional part is that you think there's something you can do for this person, but you don't know what yet. So why would you go in there and say, I want your money? Well, you don't know if you really want my money. Maybe you want something else. Maybe I can offer you better things. So I think the coffee thing that you mentioned is good in a sense that you're not going in and say, give me sale, give me, you know, you're there to say, let's find out. You know, I have done this for a long time. I'm good at this. I can offer you something, but I don't know what yet. Let's meet and figure it out. That part actually lets people's guard down. And it's really just kind of like, you know, it allows for things to creatively organize because there's not a set goal outcome that we are aiming for.
What would you say to the founder who's listening in and goes, that's great, but I'm trying to raise and I need the money and I've already got a co-founder and like we've got this track that we want to get into YC and then we're going to whatever and we're on this supercharge. I don't have the time to go for these coffees. What advice would you give to them?
I say maybe you don't need the money. Maybe you need something else. Maybe you need to spend more time looking at AI. Let's just say I'm living in two timelines, you know, before AI and AI at the same time. If you come to me and say, I'm going to offer you a lot of money with no AI tool access to AI versus no money but AI access, I would absolutely pick the latter one. Because the AI thing, giving me money, I still need to figure out how to get things done. AI is right there to produce what I need at a very, very low cost. So for me right now, with the whole AI tool out there, it's in a way literally like everyone is starting a startup with a lot of money in their bank. In a way it is. Because the AI is out there. For you to create ads for, you know, a short amount of time and low cost, for you to do coding in a short amount of time. In fact, the technical, non-technical person can create MVP by themselves. That's the same as money. Actually more than that. That thing that people build, they have poured billions of dollars into building that. And now you have access to it for $20 a month and you're complaining about not getting enough. No, you have a ton of money. The money is now converted into tools. You just have to use that to come up with something that can get you more money, right? So I think people need to start reframing and say, start the startup. The tools are already out there. They would have cost you a lot if you didn't have access to them. Please use them, create something useful, and then get more money in.
Such invaluable advice. Boone, what is the number one mistake founders make when they go out to raise?
At least in my opinion, is that they think the only thing they can get when they raise is cash. But when you look at a person, you can get more than just cash from them. You can get their network, their experience, their advice. There's many, many things a good investor can help you other than just cash. In fact, most people will come to me for investment. If I know they only focus on cash, I know they're not going to go anywhere because they did not look at my connections. They did not look at the things I can do for them, even from an advice standpoint. Those things I would go, right? Cash is the same. Whether the cash comes from you or someone else, it's the same cash. You know, they call it fungible. It's the same. It's not, there's no difference in that. But the person you deal with, they are different. So this person, if I go to Steve Jobs, would I want to cash from him? No. Right? If I go to Elon Musk, would I cash from him? No. I want something different from these people. They have a lot more offer than cash. So for me, the biggest mistake when people raise fund is they go in there thinking that they can only get cash from the person. No. Cash is only one thing that keeps them going, but there's so many different things that can tap into that can accelerate their path so much quicker, including the AI tools out there, right? So I would say really have to go in and reframe and say, maybe it's not fundraising. maybe it's energy raising. Right. So, and the energy raising is where we have one investor that we onboarded. He put cash into it, but you know what I value the most is access to him. It's access to him, not the cash, because I can now go to him. The cash is just a skin in the game for him. He's in the game now. But more than that, it's the network of investors we get. If you get A+ investors in your network, not someone who can give you cash. If let's just say you get a lot of B+, C+ investors, they give you cash. No good. You get A+ investors in your team, right? They put money into it. You know what? They're gonna draw more A+ people to you. It's not just the team members. Investors will draw A+ people to. You know why? Because when I invest, I'm not just investing in a startup. I get to hang out with those A+ investors as well. That's collaboration that I can do as an investor with the other. So I would also look at what kind of investors you get when you come raise fund from me, because that part right there is also valuable to me as an investor. Yeah.
Such invaluable advice. I'm just taking it all in. When we think about that investment process, what does that actually look like? So let's just say we'll use my peers AI as an example. For those of you who don't know, AI translation, voice cloning, and interactive intelligence for podcasters. What's the first step? Let's just say you're the investor, Boon, and I go, okay, do I send you a pitch deck? What does that, do we have a meeting? What does that look like?
Yeah. One of it could be the coffee thing you mentioned.
We love a nice coffee.
And it has to be personalized, I think. Depends on who you're talking to. Of course, if you don't know the person, then you have to try different ways because you don't know how you can personalize for them. But I always think that people have to use different ways because us as human beings, we tend to be more attuned to fresh new approaches, fresh new ways, right? If everyone is doing the same old thing, we tend to be like, nah, I've done this many times. So, and there has to be that, but there has to be a story behind it too. Who am I as a person? Why should you pay attention to me? So that storytelling has to be taken into account because you're selling yourself before you sell your startup. So, I would say really look into how you can personalize the experience for the investor. Make it pleasant. The first no doesn't mean the forever no. First no just means you have to go back and do some more work and come back to them. Then you'll get a yes. So never take the first no as a real no. And maybe first no means that this is not the right person for you. It could be that too. But the key thing is always going in there and really get as much juice out of it, nutrition out of it as possible. And then come back to them again if you need to. Right, so if nothing else, people have to think about whether it be investing or fundraising or all of this, is people need to rethink, because that whole thing is changing now with everything that we do. The AI allows you to also rethink faster as well. You're not just sitting there rethinking. You're rethinking, validating with AI, and then rethinking again. But everything that we do, including fundraising, including approaching investors, is always about rethinking and reframing, right? Framing things in a way that work to your advantage. That makes your fundraising effortless, right? To be able to see things in a broader manner. That's what it is in life. It's one thing can cause you pain, but once you reframe it, you now see the value of that. So as long as you're alive, and you have AI, there's a ton of opportunities.
So invaluable. I think as a founder, I always think, I get a bit scared when I think about investors, and I get a bit scared around, oh no, am I going to approach them the wrong way? Are they going to want to hear from me?
Yeah.
And so I love our coffee campaign that we have running in terms of that introductory piece. But then I think something I've also personally developed is like a bit of a pitch deck around the idea, so that if it does go that way, and it may not at all, I have something to be able to send to them afterwards and go, hey, that idea I mentioned to you at the end of our chat, here's a follow-up around, the idea, the mapping out, and it may or may not say if we're raising or not. It just kind of gives an overview of, I guess, what we're doing. And so I think also that call to action at the end of those coffees, or that call to action at the end of the meeting, where you do actually follow up with a deck or with at least a note in an email, is also so invaluable, because at some point that conversation or that connection, that random coffee meet, could potentially turn into something. And I think even if it's not them, maybe someone in their network is investing in something similar or may want to. So maybe getting an introduction to another investor off the back of the first one. I think they're some of the things that I've started to implement to really just kind of get a bit more process and structure into this whole, at some point we're going to raise, let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah, that, and also think about, I don't like to do things that is the same as everyone because that's how I stand out. If I do it the same thing, dress the same way and talk the same, why would I stand out to the investor? I can tell you that the investors in Central Lab, they have not seen our pitch deck to this day. To this day. Wow. So there's always exception to the rule. I just made a call and I pitch it to them. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a magical, superpower that can fundraise like no one else. That's why I was able to do that. That's why the trend is so important. You ride on the trend, everyone's paying attention to it, and you as a person is important. People buy into you. Yeah. So that, and the trend, and that you have a compelling thing that you can just kind of explain in a short amount of time. Sometimes it's just all, someone need to do that. All the pitch in the world, you can produce that with AI and all of that. But does that mean you're going to give us something that, no, it's you, it's the trend, it's the idea, it's the execution ability. All those things combined is what people want to invest in. So I would say, yes, if you don't know anybody, I sometimes wait for them to tell me, send me a pitch. Because if you don't even like what you hear, you're not going to ask for the pitch. So sending the pitch, first of all, has a risk of you giving out too much too soon. Because why do I tell me get a whole spiel if they don't even like me as a person, right? So if they say, yeah, I'd like to hear. Now, of course, sometimes they want to pitch just so they want to know your idea. But I would also just kind of hold back on that. Because remember this, it's not just about cash. They are vetting you, but you have to vet them as well. You don't want to take cash from the wrong person. If you see there's value misalignment, like this person is, want to get rich quick and all that stuff, and you're not like that, that misalignment is going to cause you stress. So you have to make sure that you get to know them because it goes both ways. Yeah.
So invaluable. I love that you've never sent a pitch deck. Only Boon Chew. Yeah. No, I think it's so invaluable because, again, it just goes back to your point around there's not one way of doing it. Yeah. And I think in startup land, candidly, and here in New York as well as in SF, there's such a huge thing around investors will have in their LinkedIn, send me your pitch deck. I don't even want to see you before I see a pitch deck. Yeah. And that is a huge, very normal thing that happens within the industry. And so to hear you say, in all my years, I've rarely sent a pitch deck is so, so interesting. And I think it just shows us as founders that we don't have to go down that very traditional, you send the pitch deck first, then you get the meeting route. We can. But there are other ways to go about it. I'm taking away a lot from this, and I'm sure our founders out there listening are too.
I want to do one thing real quick, the mindset stuff. I always tell people that don't look up to anybody. Don't look down on anybody. The problem with investors a lot of times, they look up to them. Yes. So when you look up to someone, you start getting all kinds of psychological reaction. But that's not real. You made it up in your head. They don't know more than you on the things that you want to do. But they're relying on you as a vehicle to help them make more money so they can do more things with the money, right? So in a way, you are the enabler to them. Because how else are they going to grow other than putting the money in the bank? They rely on someone like you to grow what they have. So you are an important vehicle for them. So don't go in them thinking they know more than you. They may know some things more than you, but not everything. If you don't know what you're doing more than them, then you should not be doing your startup. You should be the expert at what you're doing. You should be the expert at the one, you should be the one that is, sort of destined to carry that out. Now it's just you carrying, sort of like conveying that to them so you are the right person for them to invest in. But don't go in there and assume that they know everything, they're better than you. No. You don't really measure that based on followers or amount of money in the bank and none of that. You just go in there because of a partnership you can go into that can be mutually beneficial. Yeah.
I love that you said that, Boon, and that you piped up because I think to give context to everyone listening in, we launched podcasting for VCs this time last year, whereby we realized that investors really wanted to have their own podcasts. We did an analysis on like 1,000 VCs and 100 VC podcasts. Anyway, 1 in 10 VCs have their own show, right? So we thought, wow, we never knew this. Who knew that? I mean, we know VCs love to talk about themselves, but like really podcasts? Yeah. And so we actually did a campaign that ran for many, many months around podcasting for VCs. And in every conversation I had with a VC about starting their own podcast, the number one thing they'd say to me is, I just want to be visible so that the founders out there who need investment, who are brilliant, will come to me and trust me as their investment partner. Right. And as a founder myself, I thought, oh my goodness, every founder needs to hear what the investor thinks, which is exactly what you're saying, Boon. Yeah. It's actually flipping it on its head where the founders are the rare people out there. Yeah. We are the ones that are putting our lives on the line for our companies that are, have to be almost athletes, for 10 years straight because we're building these businesses. And now AI has made it easier, but it's still a very tough journey taking something from nothing. And the investors are the ones trying to jump on our coattails and run with us. And I think, again, that's just not the consensus. Founders don't know this. We look up to investors and we think, oh, they're the one that's going to help us achieve our dreams. But it was so fascinating running that campaign because it just reframed, at least for myself, that investors need to build, quote unquote, deal flow is what they call it. Yeah. And, find the right founders to link up with and position themselves as the right choice for the founder.
It's more than just the money. Yeah. If you have the right founder, right investor, they have fun outside of the work as well. There's a lot they can grow and learn from each other outside of what they do. So people don't sometimes realize that it's more than just the, it's more than just money giving or money taking. Yeah.
What a beautiful note to end on, Boon. This has been the most epic series. We have talked about pretty much everything when it comes to getting your startup AI idea off the ground. So a recap for everyone, we covered how to find and ideate your idea, so figuring out what that AI startup idea is for you, how to find product market fit, build your MVP, create hype before you even launch, and tell your story to investors and really cultivate that authentic relationship with them. So Boon, thank you so much for joining me on this Founders Plus AI 6-part series, crash course for founders building big with AI. We've had an absolute blast. And so for everyone tuning in, please do go back to the other episodes, re-listen, take the notes, use AI to take notes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you do not miss what's next. This is not the final time you'll hear from us. Make sure to follow Centura Lab AI on LinkedIn and on YouTube and join our newsletter. And if you have an AI idea of your very own, you can pitch it to Boon there. This is Founders Plus AI, and that is a wrap, builders.
This episode is brought to you by Ego, short for Your Extended Ego. Imagine an AI version of you nurturing relationships behind the scenes 24/7. Ego takes care of all virtual networking behind the scenes, all in your voice. Sometimes we simply don't have enough time. We forget to follow up, we forget details about that one person. But with Ego, you never have to miss out on a good connection. Ego, your network supercharged.